Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., you're listening to Impact Showdown with your host, Lee Sanders.
A.K.A. something new I'm trying out here, the Black Azrael. Don't ask me where that came from, long story. Lee Sanders with you tonight on Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live right now on December 20th, 2012, right on the dot. I like that, 10 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. Impact Wrestling decided to not go into overtime a little bit there, and for those of you that might have not got the memo, tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling was taped last week, as well as the episode that is going to be coming up next Thursday night. But, nonetheless, it's always still cool to kick back and check out the episode. Hopefully you did not read the spoilers, and if you happen to have read the spoilers, it would have made you a little bit more curious into checking out the episode. The way we're going to do tonight's show, and it's just going to be for this episode this week only, if you want to get your reactions in on what you thought about tonight's episode, you can do so at our chat room on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR show. You can also interact with us during the course of this episode on Twitter. Just hit us up at Infinity1Prod. While you're at it, take the time out, like our page on Facebook. Now, some of you that may be, calling in to listen to the show, or some of you that wanted to maybe get your thoughts heard live on the air, you might be wondering, well, how come you're not opening the phone lines tonight? I'm not opening the phone lines tonight for a couple of reasons. One, I don't have the lovely co-producer Tammy or Zed helping me out tonight, so I'm a one-man band over here, and I want to try to be as focused as much as possible when I'm running down the results for you guys. The other reason why I'm not going to open up the phone lines tonight is because, quite honestly, I am burned out. For those of you that have been checking out all the shows that we have done this week, and we've done something very unprecedented. We've done pretty much a solid week worth of shows. I know a couple of shows in there we did open up the phone lines, but tonight I'm just a one-man band. We're not opening up the phone lines. But, again, we'll read your comments, so hit us up on Twitter and hit us up in our chat room, and we'll definitely show you some love. We'll read what you're saying during the course of tonight's episode. All right, so, guys, let's go on ahead and let's jump right into it. This episode of Impact Wrestling, it kind of felt a little numb the way I was checking this out because I just felt kind of gypped is the best word I could really put out there, and I use that word lightly because grand total tonight, we had only got a total of 4 matches. Now, that sounds like a number when you really think about it, especially since TNA Impact has gone live. It just seems like they haven't pulled that card in a good moment. Seems like the last time they only gave us 4 matches, maybe it might have had something to do with them still being taped. But I don't know about you guys. I just kind of felt just a little gypped. I kind of felt like I wanted more Impact Wrestling tonight, and I just felt like I really didn't get enough of it. But, hey, we still got some pretty main important pieces that we can take going forward into next week's episode, as also for just the overall year, as now pretty much this is in the books. Let's talk about what had happened on tonight's episode, and it was pretty decent. Let's kick it off at the very top, where we had, of course, footage that was shown from earlier in the week of Jeff Hardy, Austin Aries. They both had arrived separately at the Impact Arena as the main event for tonight. Jeff Hardy taking on you-know-who, the greatest man alive on the universe, as he likes to dub himself, Double A Austin Aries, no, not Arn Anderson. Rematch for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. That match alone right there, if I have to be blunt with you guys, especially those of you that didn't check out tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, that was pretty much the one thing that was worth sticking around for, because everything else was just kind of, it's decent, it's all right. The main event, though, I must admit, it felt as though we were being treated to a pay-per-view quality type of match. I believe these guys had at least about 3 segments there, so pretty much about maybe 20 minutes worth of wrestling from these two guys. Pretty solid contest right there. We got to talk about what had happened, though, in those precious moments before the end of the match there, as we had saw the it factor, Bobby Roode, come in to play interference while the referee was taken out of the equation momentarily. We see Bobby Roode, he comes in and he gives a spine buster to Austin Aries. Bobby Roode probably still had a little bit of revenge on his mind. He probably still felt pretty ticked off at the fact that he got screwed out of winning the TNA Championship belt at the Final Resolution pay-per-view. So with that loss still fuming in his mind, you knew just sooner or later he was probably going to strike. And of all the times, of all the people to strike, he decided to take his frustration out on Austin Aries. And honestly, I thought it was a very smart move. Hey, Austin Aries screwed him out of the TNA Championship. Now it's his turn to screw Austin Aries. So we see Bobby Roode hit that spine buster, leave out of the ring. Jeff Hardy being able to capitalize on that, and he successfully retained his TNA Championship belt. But now the big question mark going into next week's episode of Impact Wrestling and the episode beyond, just what exactly is going to happen with these 3 men right here. How is this going to be resolved? And you're led to believe right now that this could end up being a triple threat match at the next TNA pay-per-view for that TNA Championship belt. Don't know about you guys. For one, I am all for it. If it's going to be a triple threat, let's see these guys go at it. But obviously, the 3 of these guys, they are still connected with one another. Find it very interesting how Bobby Roode just always manages to keep himself in the loop there. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. For you guys that's Bobby Roode fans, you probably had loved what he had did in those final few seconds of the match. Let's talk about what else had occurred on tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, as we had saw Kurt Angle come down to the ring as he's going to be taking on Devon. It was for the television championship match there. Kurt Angle, he has some words to say to Devon once he had saw that Devon brought his aces and eights buddies. He said, you know what, okay, you're going to bring your guys to the dance. I got a little team of my own. Samoa Joe, Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff, they come out, and all hell just breaks loose between these guys and aces and eights. It ended up being a case where the referee, Brian Hebner, he had to eject both of these 2 stables away from the arena. But just minutes later, we actually saw aces and eights come back, and referee Hebner, he's distracted, trying to have them go back to the back. And we see another aces and eights member come from behind referee Hebner as Kurt Angle is trying to apply the ankle lock on Devon. Devon, folks, is actually tapping out. The match should be in the books, but it's not. As we see this aces and eights member, still pipe in hand, come from behind Kurt Angle, whack him upside, I believe around the leg areas where he hit on. I believe he did a low blow there. If not the leg area, I believe it might have been the back. One of those 2, the back or the leg he hit him at. Happened so fast, folks. Kurt Angle goes down, though, and Devon able to pick up the win, retain his television title. And from there, the guys, they just quickly rolled out. So you see Kurt Angle, he's laid out, he's done. And, nice fitting to have Kurt Angle take a little rest for a bit. In case you guys might have missed the memo there, it was said that at the Final Resolution pay-per-view, Kurt Angle had pulled his groin, and basically he needs a little bit of time to recuperate. Obviously, the healing isn't going as fast as it should. So it looks like he's going to be off TV for just a couple of weeks. From what we've been able to hear, it looks like he might be out for about 2, maybe possibly 3 weeks. Quite honestly, if you have a groin injury, I really don't see why you would even show up at the TNA Impact taping the very next week, or the very next day, rather, after your pay-per-view. I don't get that. If you have a groin injury, you really should just be kicking back, wearing some pretty comfortable shorts, underwear, what have you, and just be chilling on the sofa for a hot minute till you're 100% and you can stretch out, all that good stuff. But Kurt Angle, gone for 2-3 weeks. We'll see if that actually happens. We know how this guy is, folks. He is the machine. This guy has been known to work through injuries. So do not be too surprised if we end up seeing him on the next batch of episodes for Impact Wrestling. But once again, Devon retains his television championship. We also had the TNA Knockouts title that was on the line, as Tara had to put it up against whoever won the elimination contest between ODB, Velvet Sky, Mickie James, Miss Tessmacher. And in the first series of eliminations, the first one was very easy. We saw ODB get eliminated, and the grounds that Brooke Hogan eliminated ODB is because she felt that ODB was probably more concerned about what was happening with her husband, EY. Let's not forget, folks, he had got injured at the hands of the Aces and Eights. Remember, they did a pretty serious number there on his ankle. So as far as we're able to hear, sounds like EY is still in the hospital. Very curious to see how that's going to be playing out as far as how they try to bring him back into TV. And right before we go into the rest of it, we got to always give a shout-out to Robert, who's in the chat room right now. I love TNA Wrestling. Shout-out to you as well. Shout-out to another guest that's in the chat room as well. All right, and very interesting right there. I like how they're still keeping Eric Young in rotation there, letting you know that, hey, we haven't forgotten about him. He's going to come back. And you know what? I am happy that they are trying to figure out what to do with ODB, and they're trying to keep EY in the picture, but I still have a nagging bone to pick with TNA management. And that bone that I need to pick right now is, okay, what's going on with the TNA tag knockouts? I mean, you give me these two folks, and every time they pop up, there's no TNA tag titles around their waist. It's not even mentioned. It's like it never happened. But see, here's the funny thing, folks. If you go to Impact Wrestling's website, they are still listed as the TNA Tag Champions, and it lets you know the date that they had won the titles. Now, if you don't believe me, look, all you got to do is just go on your little desktop, laptop, whatever you're using, portable device, smartphone, whatever. Type up ImpactWrestling.com, all right? Then I want you to do me another favor. Once you're at that website, I want you to go click on roster. It's the third thing. It's right next to news and home on the left-hand side. You click on it, and then, boom, it shows you everybody who is the current champion right now. And they've had the knockout tag titles since March of 2012. So basically, these guys have had these belts for almost a year. And as that Metallica song goes, absolutely nothing. You know, they haven't done anything. And it's kind of like, okay, can we see something happen to these belts already? I don't know about you guys, but that's always running in the back of my head every time I see these two individuals pop up. I just wish it would be acknowledged already. Strip them of the belts, retire the division, do something, but just always seeing them, and I'm thinking that's not really good because basically in a nutshell, guys and gals, it's hard for me, as I'm sure of many of you, because we hear you all expressing the same frustration as well of what's happening with those tag titles. That would really be a good way to just go on ahead, straighten it all up, just retire the division, get rid of the belts already, enough said. Other than that, the next elimination that we had saw from Brooke Hogan, she actually eliminated Miss Tessmacher. And the way this elimination came about was, and Tessmacher, she actually set herself up when you think about it, because basically Brooke says to Tessmacher, that's funny, isn't it? I can't say Brooke said to Brooke, because you're going to be thinking I'm mentioning the same person. Kind of funny there, because you got Brooke Tessmacher and you got Brooke Hogan. But anyway, I'm having fun here. Don't mind me. So we see Brooke Hogan say to Tessmacher, tell me the reason why you feel you should get the opportunity to face Tara for the Knockouts title tonight. And we hear Tara say, well, you know, I've been champion twice now, and quite honestly, I feel as though every time I've gone up against Tara, Jessie has always played interference. And so Brooke, she's nodding her head. She's keeping that in mind. Then she goes to Mickie James. Mickie James says, well, you know, I just came back, and, you know, quite honestly, I was screwed from Tara there. I feel like I need another shot. We go to Velvet Sky. Her whole thing is, hey, she just came back. She's kind of like Mickie James, and she feels as though she deserves an opportunity. She has pretty much been involved with the Knockouts division since day one. So Brooke's whole argument here is, okay, well, you know, Tessmacher, you said yourself you've been a Knockouts champion twice now. You've already taken Tara on a few times. Sorry, but I know the direction I need to go, and I'm not going to go your way. You're eliminated. But you will get a future championship match somewhere down the road, I promise you. So Tessmacher gets eliminated. It now boils down to Tara and Mickie James, and of that, we actually saw Mickie James get the edge, and pretty much the reason why Mickie James ended up going over Velvet Sky is because Mickie, she has a little bit more seasoning under her belt. She just came back. Basically, it's okay, Velvet Sky, it's good that you're back and everything, but, you know, Mickie did come back before you. You got to wait your turn. And the message that was sent to Velvet Sky was, watch Mickie James' match with Tara. You need to learn everything you can during their match, because you're going to have your time to be in there for that belt sooner or later. So watch how everything plays out. And, you know, I thought it was kind of interesting what had happened right here with this match. And it was a decent match, by the way, Tara taking on Mickie James. As I said, you know, whenever you get those two girls, usually you have a really classic encounter. And this match alone was actually better than what they had did at the Final Resolution pay-per-view. I know there were some of you that were a little bit disappointed with the way that match was kind of playing out there, but it actually turned out this encounter alone was better than the pay-per-view match. And I found myself getting pretty into it. For this match, we actually ended up seeing Tara get the retain, as once again we saw Jessie play a role, always interfering there. And, you know, I just had this little thing that was going in the back of my head as I'm seeing all this play out. Wait a minute. Didn't Brooke Tessmacher as well as Mickie James both say to a certain extent, hey, it seems like Jessie's always interfering in these knockout matches? Okay, and yet we got Jessie at ringside during this match. Now, I don't know about you, but, you know, when I'm thinking about things from a writing standpoint, and this is just writing in general, whenever I sit down and write in a short story, whatever, whenever I write, I usually try to make sure that all loopholes is just filled up, that the reader can't sit up and go, well, what about this? You know, what about that? You know, I plug them up so that they have a complete story. You know, the only time you leave little loopholes out there like that is if you're doing it on purpose and you plan on coming back later to bring it up. But in the case of what's been happening right here with Jesse, I just feel like TNA, they just totally missed that. They weren't even thinking that way when they had those two girls in the backstage segment there talking about Jesse. So it's kind of like, that's kind of bad. I'm all for Terror retaining now, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like, okay, well, since you feel that Jesse's playing that much of a significant role, I'll tell you what we'll do. For this match, Jesse's banned from ringside. Terror's going to have to get the job done. I think eventually that's probably what's going to happen. It's probably going to be a pay-per-view match. Terror's probably going to have to get the job done without her boo, and then that's how she'll lose the TNA Knockouts title. Who it's going to be against, honestly, guys, I think at this rate, and I'm still having in the back of my mind that Velvet Sky promises that 2013 is going to be the year of the Velvet Sky. I think Velvet Sky is going to be the one to take the belt away from Terror. Just an early match prediction for 2013, but that's just the vibe I'm getting right now. Let's move on. We saw a decent tag match between Joey Ryan, Matt Morgan, as they had teamed up to take on the team of Rob Van Dam, Kenny King. You can only wonder what's going on with Kenny King there, who did that dirty pin against RVD last week, as cameras had caught up with him to get the follow-up on that, and Kenny King said, hey, it was nothing personal what had happened with Rob Van Dam. I have no beef with him. I would hope Rob Van Dam doesn't have any beef with me, because tonight we got to be on the same page. We got to take out Joey Ryan and Matt Morgan. Now, we saw both tag teams working pretty well here. Great match. Let's talk about the act of betrayal, though, that came from Kenny King, as Kenny King at one point, he was trying to come to the aid of RVD, but then once he found himself standing toe-to-toe with the Blueprint, Matt Morgan, Kenny King just threw up a deuce and said, peace, like Martin, and he just rolled out. So you see RVD, he is just struggling to get up. He's not even aware that his tag partner has hauled ass, and we see Matt Morgan just deliver a devastating clothesline to RVD as he was trying to get up, and he was able to pick up the win that way. You see Kenny King, he is looking on, and you just see him going, ooh, that looks like it hurt. You okay, bro? Come on, let's go. Shake it off. You just feel kind of bad for RVD, and it was one of those scenarios where you're saying to yourself, you know what? If you didn't know any better, Kenny King did this on purpose, because he probably has his own little agenda right here. He probably still wants to try to get that X Division title off the hands of Rob Van Dam. So you kind of have that going into the back of your mind right there. Personally, I love seeing Kenny King be more consistent in his appearances on TNA Wrestling. He is a great piece of talent. And I agree with some of the comments that you all were saying, because I did take the luxury of reading some of the things that you all were saying on Twitter tonight. And I agree 100% that, hey, Kenny King, he really has a golden opportunity right there in TNA, as he probably wouldn't have the opportunity elsewhere to really climb up the ladder. And of all the guys to be working with right now, I am really enjoying his program with Rob Van Dam, and I think it just goes back to show you what I was saying a couple of weeks ago. As remember, there was just a good majority of you all that felt that Kenny King should have gotten the X Division title at the Final Resolution pay-per-view, and I told you guys, I said, you know what, he just came back. You don't have any rivalry. There's no story you can get behind to kind of give his win over RVD some type of weight. You have to do a program. And, it's nice to see that that is exactly what's happening right now. So it looks like next week we're going to have a very ticked off Rob Van Dam probably try to come across Kenny King in a backstage segment and ask him what the hell had happened with this tag match from this week. And Kenny King's probably going to try to joke it off or whatever like that, try to, hey, man, let loose, why you being so tense? Lighten up, But I like what's happening right there with those two guys. Coming up next up on Impact Wrestling tonight, we had got Kazarian and Daniels. Funny little moment right here. Just when you think it couldn't get any better, we see Daniels, Kazarian. They had a very interesting segment as they were joined by good old Jolly St. Nick, a.k.a. Santa Claus. Santa Claus coming out and asking them if they've been good boys, what have you. We actually saw Santa Claus get a ridiculous present from the duo. I guess they gave him a pair of Zumba pants, whatever the hell they're calling them. I call them zebra striped pants from the 80s. I know too long, but that's exactly how they look to me. And we see Daniels. He cut one pretty funny promo. He says to Santa Claus, hey, if it's okay with you, I have this wish, and I just want to give my wish to somebody I think that really needs it, because Christmas is all about giving. It's better to give than to receive. Right, Santa? And Santa is like, yeah, that's exactly right, Daniels. Who would you like to give your wish to? And Daniel says he would like to give his wish to AJ Styles' family, because AJ's unemployed right now, and the poor kids, they need Christmas presents and all that. Hilarious stuff. We see the Cowboy James Storm. He comes out, and we just see him just do a last call super kick to Santa Claus as he is sitting in the chair. And we see Daniels Kazarian. They quickly just leave the ring as James Storm, he digs into the goodie bags that Santa left, and he was actually tossing actual TNA items to the crowd in attendance. So very curious to hear what some of the folks that were there at the arena had got there. It looks like maybe somebody had got a DVD, maybe somebody else had got a T-shirt. Definitely some good items there that James Storm was throwing. Of course, there was also a pretty cool segment where the TNA General Manager, Hulk Hogan, had addressed the Impact crowd, letting them know how this calendar year has been really good for TNA Wrestling. He recalled how just a couple of years back when he first joined the company, it was just really tiny, just a little dot on the map, and how much of a monster it has become recently, and he's just very proud of how far along the company has come, and that big things are to come in the next year, as he reveals that right now you can go to Impact Wrestling's website to cast your vote on who you think is the TNA Wrestler of the Year. They must be taking a page out of our playbook, because we've been asking a ton of you guys who you thought was the TNA Wrestler for the year, and we're actually going to follow up with you on that as soon as we come back from a commercial break. But Hulk Hogan putting all these plugs out there. We see Aces and Eights. They come out, they confront the Hulkster, and Devon is the one that's leading the pack. And Devon tells the Hulkster, you want to sit up and talk about how great of a year you and the company has had. That's not even the case. You're spreading lies. If anything, 2012 was all about Aces and Eights. And notice the critical point right here, Devon, who announces that come next year, just a matter of days, folks, Aces and Eights we will be revealing themselves as their quest for all the gold in TNA begins. So you're hearing that and you're saying to yourself, ooh, that's an interesting development. As we see Aces and Eights, they surround the ring. They're getting ready to attack the Hulkster when out of nowhere, Bully Ray comes down to try to come to the Hulkster's aid. It's amazing. One guy comes with a piece of chain, and we see 8 guys in Aces and Eights haul ass. I am just amazed at that. I always think that's just hilarious. But they backed off. We see Hogan, Bully Ray, they're giving that stare down to one another. It looks as if maybe, just maybe, the Hulkster is getting ready to put that hand out there and say, hey, man, thanks for having my back. But we see that Hulkster is still hell-bent on Bully Ray. He still does not trust him. Doesn't even say thank you, nothing. Just gives him a look like whatever. Bully Ray just standing there wondering what more does he have to do to gain the respect and trust of the Hulkster. Nice development right there. But the main takeaway you want from that segment is Aces and Eights will be revealing themselves in 2013. Now, I know this was a sigh of relief to many of you tonight. I can't think of one of our followers' names offhand, but I know he was telling me how he is really happy that this is finally going to happen because, quite honestly, this has been playing out for far too long, and that hopefully it doesn't become a case where the identities won't be revealed almost a year to the anniversary that Aces and Eights had first made their debut. So basically you kind of got to go, I believe around it was summertime that Aces and Eights had made their debut. So he's for it, and that was pretty much the general conscience for a lot of people tonight. It was like, okay, it's good that they're going to try to reveal some of these guys, but I think the general conscience right now of the TNA wrestling fans is do it within the first quarter. It shouldn't happen in the second, third quarter. If you're going to do it while you've made the announcement. Be fresh. It's out there. Everybody is still high on it. Make it happen in the first quarter. So it should be very interesting to see what's going to happen with that. Next up on Impact Wrestling tonight, guys and gals, we had got to see in action one of my favorite matches there, the main event match, of course, we already talked about. That was pretty much it. I know, right? Shocking. 4 matches. Can you believe that? I thought I was getting ready to name another match off the top of my head, but I just caught myself at the last minute there. That was pretty much it for Impact Wrestling. However, there was 2 major angles, one that closed out Impact Wrestling tonight. But I'm going to get to that in just a second. The main thing I want to talk about tonight, I tried my best to tell you guys 2, 3, I don't know how many weeks ago, as soon as we started seeing these video promos, the 1-3-1-3 promos, and we heard the lines that was said, he will descend upon them like a plague, get revenge, all this other stuff. And I said to you guys, you know what, don't be too surprised if it's Sting, because quite honestly, that fits his M.O. Aces and Eights took him out. He owes them payback. This is about revenge for him. It plays perfect because Sting is always one of those type of guys. He's around the company for a couple of months. Then he needs to step away for about 2, 3, maybe 4 months. And that's been his pattern the past few years. He's been kind of disappearing right around the holidays. So, you know, when I saw these promos, the first thing that popped into my head was it's got to be Sting. And I know other people, they try to offer other ideas as far as who it might be. And the big revelation tonight as far as who was behind the 1-3-13, it was none other than Sting. And it looks like we're getting classic Sting that's going to be coming back as he's going to be bringing back the classic Crow face paint. So look out for that. He has not forgotten about the Aces and Eights, obviously, and a really nice video package that they had put up there. And I really hope that it diffuses the rumors now of Sting possibly going to the WWE, as really, folks, as long as you have that lawsuit that's in the picture right now between WWE and TNA, unfortunately, nobody's going to be going anywhere. It's just not happening. So hopefully the rumors are now diffused. But Sting looks like he's going to be coming back on the first episode of Impact Wrestling for 2013. Closing out tonight's episode of Impact, right after the TNA World Heavyweight Championship match, we saw the Hulkster. He was talking with folks outside the arena as he was making his way to his car. And he was just turning around looking at something as he was making his way into his car. And he ended up seeing Bully Ray kissing Brooke Hogan. And let's really break this down in a nutshell here, guys and gals. We saw Brooke Hogan. She grabbed Bully Ray, and Bully Ray looked like he was willing to come hither, and we just see them in this aggressive, passionate kiss that just had the Hulkster hop in his car, not say anything else to the cameras, and just drive off very pissed. You know, the way he was driving and the way that engine was roaring, I thought he was getting ready to just run over Bully Ray there. But it is what it is. We have the next little turn there that's going to be happening from that little drama that's been playing out within recent weeks. I can only imagine how the confrontation is going to be between the Hulkster and Bully Ray next week. Bear in mind, just last week, Hogan had demanded that Bully Ray has nothing else to do with Brooke. Don't talk to her, don't call her, nothing. And for him to see that, he's going to be hulking out big time all the way up until next week. But, overall, the main things I take away from Impact tonight, the aces and eights, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to play out. And I think with the return of Sting, I think Sting is going to be that centerpiece that's going to be having some of these identities be revealed. I think at this point it's going to be Sting alone, as is kind of what I'm gathering. He's probably going to get a little bit of help from some of the other guys in TNA, but I kind of have this feeling right now that Sting is going to be the one to dethrone Aces and Eight's grip over the company. And, it has such a huge impact, his comeback, that Aces and Eights, they had got reactions from this. They were sharing their reactions from seeing Sting come back. And we see VP, he's telling Devon and his brothers, you know what, we need more bodies if Sting's coming back. Thought we took him out. Obviously, we didn't do enough of a good job. Yeah, and we see Devon, he tells VP that he thinks he knows someone that is definitely pissed off and arrogant enough to want to come on over to their side to help them out. VP doesn't really like the sound of this, folks, as he's not trying to go off of guesses. He wants something that's a sure thing, and Devon reassures him that he's confident that if he talks to this young man, that he will be very interested in coming on over to Aces and Eights. They took a vote, and they voted yay. So it looks like Devon has the okay to go talk to this young man. Of course, that fuels the speculation now. Who could this young man be that Devon is going to be reaching out to? Of course, there's the obvious ones, the Garrett Bischoff. There's the Wes Briscoe. You want to talk about young guys. Those would be the ones I'm looking at. Would be a nice little shocker there if maybe Christian York could possibly be thrown into the mix there. But it is what it is. I'm not going to speculate any more further than that, but nice development right there. Of course, we also did get the continuation there of Joseph Park's OVW training. Can't believe I almost forgot about that. That was some hilarious stuff. Joseph Park trying to deliver clotheslines, take body blows. He just wasn't doing it right. He was crying like a baby. And at one point, we see him taking strikes. One bad strike he took to the face, it drew blood, and he just had a abyss moment where he just blacked out, and he was delivering all the trademark moves that Abyss does, the clotheslines, black hole slam. It actually made the coach say, Joseph, are you okay? And Joseph said, my name's not Joseph. So interesting development right there as we continue to see Joseph Park's training. Overall, there was a couple of key things you could take away from tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, but, when you just minus all the matches that we had, which was really brief, as this was really just about pushing along key storylines, it was a decent episode. Scale of 1 to 10, I'd have to give this episode a modest, I'll say 7 out of 10. And it's only 7 out of 10 because I wanted a little bit more wrestling. We're going to go on ahead. We're going to take a very brief commercial break. Then when we come right back, I'll go through a few headlines with you guys of what all's been happening in TNA related wrestling news, and we'll give you guys a couple of quick programming notes. So kick on back, relax, enjoy. Hopefully you're enjoying the show so far. You're listening to Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you live on December 20th, 2012. We'll be coming right back, folks. Do hang tight.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., you're listening to Impact Showdown with your host, Lee Sanders. Thank you for listening to tonight's episode. If you enjoyed our coverage of the TNA Wrestling, then be sure to check out Impact Showdown Radio every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com and at our sister website at infinityOneProductions.com for all the latest fallout from Impact Wrestling with the latest in TNA-related news and great live fan reactions. Thank you for listening to tonight's episode. If you enjoyed our coverage of the TNA Wrestling, then be sure to check out Impact Showdown Radio every Thursday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on blogtalkradio.com and at our sister website at infinityOneProductions.com for all the latest fallout from Impact Wrestling with the latest in TNA-related news and great live fan reactions. Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, the Black Avenger, Lee Sanders here. Hey, by chance, are you going to miss your favorite episodes of the RCWR show and Impact Showdown Radio as they're live in progress? Hey, that's not a problem. All you got to do is download the free podcast app in the iTunes store, and you'll be able to take all our episodes with you as you're on the move. That's right. Download it. Just search podcast in the iTunes store. It's a free app, download it, and then from there, just search for our shows by typing in the keywords, the RCWR show, and then you'll be able to subscribe. It's as easy as that. So check that out, and you'll be able to play all our episodes on your iPad, on your iTouch, iPod, all smartphone, mobile phones, all portable devices. Also, if you haven't checked out the Stitcher app already, highly recommend that you check that out as well, as that's another way you can check out our episodes, especially if you are always on the go. Stitcher, new and smart way to play internet radio. All right, and we are back. Black Avenger Lee Sanders with you on Impact Showdown Radio, coming at you right now, live on blogtalkradio.com. All right, so some quick programming notes. This Saturday is the return of the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. We can get you guys caught up on the very latest and what you might have missed from TNA, WWE, also the very latest in wrestling-related news. And it's my favorite part of our Weekend Edition shows. We get you caught up on the very latest and what all has been happening in entertainment-related news. And we got some kick-ass reviews for you guys. It's been a long time since we done some reviews. As you know, we always have to make way for our Call That Match specials. But we got some really great reviews that's going to be coming this Saturday. I'll have the review of the Target exclusive Blu-ray Deluxe edition of The Dark Knight Rises. I'll give you the final verdict on that. I also have some kick-ass reviews for Green Day's Dulce and Trey albums. Also give you guys a review of the Rolling Stones box set, Grr. You guys will appreciate that. Some really great reviews, so make sure you check that out. We'll have a few more things that we'll be reviewing on there as well. Good timing, too, since Christmas is right around the corner. You're probably thinking about some last-minute gifts, maybe for yourself, or maybe that you would like to get for a family member, close friend. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be this Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern right here on blogtalkradio.com. And if you're not able to catch that show live in progress, have no fears. Just make sure you subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces. Use the keywords RCWR Show. You'll be able to take all the episodes with you on the go so you never miss out. All right, so a little bit of TNA wrestling-related news for you guys, and there really hasn't been too many headlines that's really jumped out there. For those of you that are a little bit curious how Final Resolution did pay-per-view buy rate-wise, looks like, and the numbers aren't official yet, this is 90% accurate. Looks like right now the pay-per-view had pulled in just a little bit over 11,000 buys. It's about the same number that the Turning Point pay-per-view had did this past November. Not really too bad. Also, TNA is going to be holding Gut Check in the UK. That's right. Now, TNA is scheduled to hold a Gut Check seminar that's going to be going down on January 24th. It's going to be at 2 p.m. at Nottingham's Capital FM Arena. Also, TNA has confirmed that D'Lo Brown will be holding the headlining seminar that's going to be taking place there. Those of you that are interested in the TNA Gut Check, you can do so by going to TNAGutcheck.com, register, pay the $150 fee to be able to participate, and, hey, good luck to you all. Also, Samoa Joe is going to be holding a wrestling seminar. Looks like he's recently been contacted by a pro wrestling seminar at Ludus Wrestling School in Brooklyn, New York. He's going to be heading that way on January 19th. And for more information on that, you can go to the Ludus Wrestling School's website. That's at the Ludus Wrestling Center.com. One more time, that's the Ludus, Ludus, Wrestling Center.com. So make sure that you check that out. We heard a little bit of rumblings that was going on with Jeff Hardy, such as was he going to be staying with TNA Wrestling or was he going to be going back to the WWE? And Jeff Hardy, he was recently interviewed on a show just earlier this week, and he was talking about that. And he went on record. He said, you know what, TNA Wrestling, they have treated me so well. They have really given me the platform to be able to do everything and anything that I want to do in the company. They've just given me that creative freedom. I'm able to not only just be a wrestler, but I can be a musician and I can release my music, and they've really been a good team player with all that. I just don't see myself going back to the WWE or leaving for another promotion for that matter. This is where I want to stay. I love being here. I feel good here. So it's really nice to hear Jeff Hardy say those things. And, he also brought up a very valid point, which I think is very key. And I think hardcore WWE, Jeff Hardy fans, they really need to take that news in, which is Hardy feels that by him going back to the WWE, yeah, he would be popular. He would be back in the spotlight, but it wouldn't be the way that it is right now in TNA Wrestling. He's very well aware of that. Basically, he would be that flavor for a few months, and then once he gets stale, he would be lost in the shuffle along with the other top baby faces. And he just doesn't want to be in that type of a position. He feels he's much better off in TNA wrestling. Very valid points by the charismatic Enigma one. So take that for what it's worth. I would be a bit stunned if Jeff Hardy was not able to come to some type of a new agreement with TNA Wrestling. But at the same time, just based off what he said from that interview, sounds to me like, without a doubt, he secured some type of a new deal. And Jeff Hardy's going to be around TNA Wrestling at least for a couple of more years to come. So good move right there. Very classy words, too, what he had said. I welcome you guys to do a little Google search and see if you can pull up that interview. That's some very interesting things to say right there. Other than that, guys, only other TNA Wrestling-related news that stands out in my mind was Conan. I know you guys remember him. He recently took jabs at the Aces and Eights storyline. You guys should get a kick out of this. He had said earlier today on his Twitter account, quote, "Hey, all you Sons of Anarchy fans, the series really isn't over. If you want to see the continuation, watch TNA's Aces and Eights. #lame." I am so glad when I hear that, it's so funny because there has been like at least 90% of the smart wrestling fans that watch TNA. You don't even have to watch Sons of Anarchy. You can just see a little something, and you kind of get the gist of it. But 90% of folks know what the heck is going on with the Aces and Eights, that they are some type of a ripoff from Sons of Anarchy. I just always think it's amazing when we have wrestling websites that like to try to make a big deal out of something. Well, this person said, it's kind of like Hulk Hogan doesn't like purple Kool-Aid. And it's kind of like, well, unfortunately, there's a few people who probably don't like that flavor. There's probably other flavors that they don't like. But because Hulk Hogan said he doesn't like purple Kool-Aid, that's a headline. And I just want you guys to know you'll never see any type of bullshit like that on our website. And I am going to just choke the hell out of Zed when I see him, because I was asking Zed right before I came onto the air tonight. I said, give me some notes. Give me some verbal notes. What's going on in TNA-related news? And he said, Conan said, now that I think about it, God, Conan, who cares? We all know it's Sons of Anarchy. Personally, what I care about more is seeing this damn storyline wrap up already. It just seems like there's no freaking exit. I'm really hoping in the new year to come that we can really get this wrapped up. Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the chat room here. I know we see Robert. He posted a very interesting question. He said, why Sting? Sting is already over. He don't need the Aces and Eights storyline to get even more over. Robert, I don't think it's a case of Sting trying to get over. I think it's a case where I believe it's the beginning of the end for Aces and Eights. I think this is a case right now where Sting is going to be one of the key pieces used to try to get rid of Aces and Eights. And if I were to go a step further, I think if handled right, Sting would probably be able to vanquish Aces and Eights altogether with the help of some of these young guys that's on the roster, like a Christian York, a Wes Briscoe, Garrett Bischoff, young guys like that. I think that would be the best way to do it. I will go out on a limb and say that if you put a situation out there where basically it's Sting, Hogan, Bully Ray, Samoa Joe just destroying Aces and Eights, that really doesn't do those guys any good when you really think about it. Hogan, it doesn't really do him any good. Sting, his time is winding down. Samoa Joe, he really doesn't need to be in this angle, but for some reason, unknown, dumbfound reason, Samoa Joe is being thrown into this mix. I really don't think it does him any good. I think right now you need to inject some new blood to help out these veteran wrestlers take on aces and eights. Yes, I agree. Like Magnus. Magnus is another one. But at the same time, remember how aces and eights VP had described, how Devon had described to VP the guy that he's interested in recruiting. He said he's young, he's arrogant. Magnus kind of fits that MO as well. So don't be too surprised there if it's Magnus, Briscoe, Bischoff, hell, York. One of those guys could go on over to aces and eights. But very good point right there. And another good point by Dave. Sting sells, absolutely right, and Sting makes money. Sting is still a top draw, and when you involve him in that type of program with the aces and eights, if they do this right, he's pretty much going to represent what the general conscience of the TNA wrestling fans are, which is we're tired of seeing the aces and eights. Have them go away already, and Sting is going to be one of those key guys that's going to get rid of them once and for all. I think if they plan this out right, honestly, if it was me from a writing standpoint, I would milk Sting coming back and just having his way with the aces and eights. I would play this out for maybe 3 months, but then I would wrap it up. Honestly, if you have it go into the spring, I just really think it's really pushing the patience of the TNA wrestling fans, which brings me to a very interesting point. Those of you that saw TNA wrestling tonight, how many of you saw that ridiculous commercial with the TNA wrestling fan over in the UK or something like that? And he was talking about how this is real wrestling, that it's not like some companies, that TNA has great wrestlers, really great storylines. And I just had to pause the TV. I literally just took my remote and I paused it, and I'm saying to myself, if that guy is not a true TNA mark, I don't know who is, because any person that is a true TNA wrestling fan, they will admit when TNA has done some pretty messed up storylines when they haven't really delivered on a specific episode. And he just really came off to me like he was sweating TNA's balls big time. And, it's just one of those things. I just think it's funny. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to build up all that hype and everything, and they want to try to, hey, look what this person said. If this person said this, then we must be doing something right. You need to come on down here and be a part of this. Now, I will give TNA Wrestling one thing, and I've heard this from numerous people that we've had the pleasure of interacting with during the course of this year. When it comes to the TNA wrestling events, whether it be house shows or pay-per-views, everybody says the same thing. The wrestlers, they are so polite. They almost make you feel like you're kicking back with a longtime friend. They really make you feel comfortable. The interaction is just so freaking awesome. I hear that the intensity and watching them perform, it's really up there. I hear it's a really great experience. But, to see a commercial like that with the guy, good storylines, honestly, I can think of a handful of storylines that TNA Wrestling has done this year that kind of made me go, is this really the best of what you got? Which brings me to a very interesting point. Make sure you check out the Saturday edition of the RCWR show. We know there's one more episode of TNA Wrestling left in the calendar year. But we thought, what, forget about it. Let's run with it. We're actually going to do a year-end review of TNA. I'll share with you guys what I honestly believe worked for TNA this year, what didn't work, and what they need to do going forward. It's going to be a really great, in-depth review, so make sure you check that out this Saturday. And we're also going to be talking about you all's picks, because we tallied up the numbers over here, and a lot of numbers. Over 150 of you voted for the TNA Wrestler of the Year. And mad shout out to all of you that had cast in your votes. We're going to reveal the person that you all had selected. So make sure that you check that out. This ain't no rigged thing. You know, we made it really easy for you guys. Those of you that cast your votes, you saw how easy it was to cast your votes, and there's no way I can sabotage the votes, okay? The only way I can do anything with the votes, I would have to just delete it, and then I don't have any more information from what you all had gave us. So our voting system is actually legit. No shenanigans going on, okay? So make sure you check that out. It's going to be this Saturday. And, hey, one other thing, and I want to say this before we go off the air. I want to just send a heartfelt thank you to everybody that checked out all the solid shows that we put out this week. In specific, thank you to those of you that had checked out our special that we did on Wednesday covering the Connecticut shootings. We had a really great special guest, Dr. Bart Rossi, that had stopped by, and it was a really great, insightful interview. It was a episode that was actually met with a lot of great praise. A lot of you would actually like to kind of see us just all together go into an entirely different direction with some of the shows that we put out weekly, as we heard quite a bit of good feedback from you guys. And trust us, we are listening to what you guys are saying, and we always love it when we're able to cover a little bit more than wrestling. That's why we got the weekend edition shows that we do for you guys from time to time, so that we can try to switch it up and talk a little bit about everything that's going on. But we're glad that you appreciate that, and trust me, we'll definitely look into doing more shows like that where we just aren't even talking about wrestling altogether. In the meantime, everybody, talk of wrestling, it may end right here for now, very latest. Go check out our website at infinityoneproductions.com, where we cover a lot more than just wrestling. And while you're at it, take the time out, subscribe to us in the iTunes, Zune marketplaces. Use keywords, the RCWR Show. If you are on your internet browser right now, just go to blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. You'll see a little option that will say follow right up under our little picture icon. You click on that, you'll always be able to get alerts when we're getting ready to put out an episode. Do that, you'll never miss out. We are on a well-deserved 30-plus hour break. We will see you guys this Saturday for the weekend edition of the RCWR Show at 2 p.m. Eastern. Everybody, hey, have a great weekend. Be safe. Be kind to one another. See you this Saturday, folks. Do take care.